Welcome to our Q&A of Sparrow Stuttering's educational video, Nurturing and Empowering Your Child Who Stutters. We just watched the film together, and it's so funny. I have watched this probably dozens of times now, and I still get emotional. Well, I'm just gonna start by opening it up for comments, impressions from our viewers. Feel free to unmute yourselves and share just as you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, you know me, I'm not, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm never a loss for words. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. I've been facilitator of the NSA's parent group, and you answered every single question that has been addressed for since 2021, since I started. Just to give you a brief background, I have a 14-year-old daughter who is a person who stutters. And her home was always a safe place to stutter because I didn't know any better. It wasn't an issue. We had got used to hearing her voice. Her voice was beautiful to me. And active listening was not a problem, and I always jokingly say she cussed fluently, so long as she wasn't cussing at me, we were good. But I just want to say that the guilt came for me late because I didn't start early, and I thought I had missed that window for her to be fluent because I just let her be her until she was about 10. And when I asked her, "What do you want mommy to do?" she said, "Do what you've been doing. Home is the only place where my stutter is not an issue." And I'm trying not to get it. I'm at work. So, trying not to get. So I think what you have done is a lifesaver for parents. I don't know how I can assist you getting the word out because there are so many parents that need this. And you are correct. Your profession, some, not all SLPs have ignored us as parents and forgotten that we are the key to our kids' success. You get them for 35, 45 minutes. We get them for a lifetime. And we have to let them know that it's okay. It's okay to stutter.
I'm so glad I yielded to Jamie because I knew what she was going to say is always so powerful, especially being a mother of a child who stutters, who this film is really addressing. I can speak from a person who stutters. I could speak from an SLP. But to hear that voice of a parent and hearing what it means to her and having that lens is really something. As a person who stutters, I can thank all of you guys for putting this together. There's a lot of great info out there, but more needs to be put out there, and you guys are doing it. I like the focus of this. I like one of the main messages is that even if you weren't doing it, you can do it now. And that message really came across in a very strong way. I hesitate to bring this other thing up, but I always ask myself this question because someone asked me the question a long time ago. And it was someone who has a very severe stutter. He's an adult. And the question was, yeah, but does that apply to me? Because people walk away from me when I talk. And I sat there and I understood his point. So bringing that mindset to this, I love the messages that you're getting across, and I also agree with the focus not being on fluency, but as a SLP, I think what you've highlighted here is often the message that we don't usually hear. But is there room in there, not for fluency, but helping children to stutter more easily? That part, I wasn't sure if that is a focus of, I know obviously therapy is not the point of the video, but I just wanted to hear from someone to kind of address that, because I felt that that the message was very focused on it's okay to stutter, and it is. But I also think that those two things can coexist. It's okay, and stuttering more easily is possible when you want that.
Yeah. My initial response to that, Mitch, is the piece that we spoke about, reactivity, that if we can help kids and parents to lower reactivity in general to stuttering when kids are young or older, that goes a tremendously long way toward reducing physical struggle or preventing the development of that like extra physical struggle and effort, or starting to unravel that if it's already present. So for me, that's the piece of it that I really wanted parents to take away, is that helping to lower your own reactivity and doing whatever you need to do to lower your own reactivity to stuttering will also help a child co-regulate and lower their reactivity to stuttering, and then not have the intensity of the physical struggle that might have otherwise taken root and started to develop over time. But I think that it's a tricky point to talk about on an individual basis, of making sure that we are leaving space for like coexisting with stuttering in a way that is comfortable, and of making it sort of a difference between acceptance and resignation, that it doesn't have to be resignation of the way I stutter right now is the only way that I can ever stutter. It doesn't have to be that. It can always be room for, is there a way that this could get in my way less or not at all? But for parents, the reactivity piece for me is where that starts.
And I'll just add, I think for me, in response to that question, Mitch, I think intent is key, right? So if we talk about strategies or ways that we work with children, whether it's a young child or an older child, the intent behind the strategy, right, or the technique, or whatever it is that we're working through, whatever we're exploring, I think that's the piece that we often will miss, right? That we're helping them explore or teaching strategies, but there's not a clear understanding of why am I doing that, right? Is it to hide my stutter? Is it to not own my identity as a person who stutters? Or is it because I want to stutter easier and because I want to communicate my message in a way that feels more comfortable, or in a way that maybe it's a little bit more spontaneous, rather than, trying to do something to, hide or be covert about it. So I think that's the key. Is I think we all would say, of course, we work with strategies, right? We are teaching individuals to play with their stutter, to make that tension maybe less tense, and all of those things. I think all of us would say that, the strategy is not the bad word. It's just, how are we presenting those, right? And that's when I teach my students, my graduate students, about stuttering therapy. I always say, we never present a strategy as a way to hide, right? Like, it just has to be very clear. Why are we doing this? Why is it that this might be important for you, or something that you would consider trying or consider in your communication journey, right? So I think that's the key for me.
I think those are excellent points, and it's a very good question. And I think we all probably get asked that a lot, is, the dichotomy between the two. But I really like what this video presents, in the sense that it stresses giving the parents a role. Like, your role is the safe space. That's your role, and giving them something concrete to do, such as that, or reiterating that. Sometimes it really made a difference for me just to have a panel say that versus just one person. So I thank you again for that. And I think that helps a lot. And again, that safe space can be when they're practicing strategies that they choose, that introducing themselves, I'm a person who stutters, and then using the strategies to decrease the stutter, that's okay. And then if they do that at home, that's still a safe space if it doesn't work, and making that very clear. I think that helps tremendously, again, with the reactivity and the way the parents walk away from the situation too. It sort of removes a lot of the guilt and the heaviness, which can exacerbate lots and lots of things beyond stuttering.
Yeah, I was just jumping in on what Carrie said and some things that Anna Paula said in the video. I think it's also important that developmentally, we focused this really towards parents of kind of the 5 and under set. And so I think what Anna Paula had said in her initial interview about, if we're telling a child to change the way they're talking, developmentally, that's really challenging and probably unrealistic. And if they don't understand the why, then it becomes just stop stuttering, just don't do that. Versus when they're a little bit further along in their journey, again, if we've prevented the reactivity, then we can build upon, like, what are your options to reduce tension, to reduce the physical pain of stuttering. Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments or impressions?
You can't get me started. But I remember when I met Chris Rose, who is my co-pilot with the group. She's my daughter's SLP. First thing she said to me, now this is the first meet and greet with the parent, I'm gonna teach your daughter to stutter on purpose. You talk about the hardest side eye and eye roll I gave her. And it wasn't because it was just I didn't understand. The whole world wants to hear fluency, but that's not an option at this time, and there was a disconnect between what she said and what I was comparing the rest of the world to. And I think, to go back to what Mitchell said, it starts right there in that gray area between what the SLP or the school speech pathologist says versus what the rest of society wants to hear. And if you don't snap that in the child and in the parent that, I'm going to teach strategies, it's going to be fine, okay, but this is a part of who you are. You got to own it. I tell my daughter she's a badass person with a stutter. So, and this is her special gift to save all the kids in the world that stutter. You're leading the way. You're a pioneer to pave the way. So She loves basketball, so I use it as, you see how Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has opened the door to the WNBA. You're making the pathway for other kids and the rest of the world to get behind that this is a verbal diversity. It's not something that needs to be erased. You need to adjust to what I'm saying. So I think as long as we keep going through this mud, because or concrete, I should say, I think the more and more we get parents involved, the less we get adults who have deep emotional scars that Mandy talked about, that I listened to when I went to the older adult senior group and working at that parents did so much damage. And it's hard for me and my group not to yell at these parents and go, you're ruining them, please stop, making them want to be fluent so you're not embarrassed. Love them where they are and teach them how to live life with a stutter. So, I'm gonna be done. I'll be crying again.
One of the things for me, building off of that, Jamie, that we also really wanted to be a takeaway is helping parents to foster resilience in their child so that they can go out into that society that expects fluency and still be okay. That, like, yes, there's an expectation that you're going to talk faster and order your coffee faster, but to know that, like, they have the trust in themselves and in the people with them to, like, make it through that interaction without it being derailing is huge. So having that solid foundation of resilience built up with their home as a safe space will hopefully help with that side of things as well.
We our field is so steeped in the medical model, right? There's a problem, let's fix it, let's get rid of it. And I feel like I keep peeling back the onion. I mean, years and years I've been in this field, but there are still times where I think, there it is again. I write research reviews for the Informed SLP, which is one of the continuing ed sites. But I just did one where it was a piece of it was this research team had created information for teachers from the voices of people who stutter. And a big takeaway was helping teachers understand the difference between stuttering and struggling, so that they're not just saying, speech person, get rid of the stutter, but they're really understanding more of the complexities of that.
Any questions for us about the process or about, I don't know, anything? If not, I think I'm going to ask a question of the SLPs who participated. I'm just curious, what drew you to this project? And then just what are your hopes for its reach or its impact? And anybody who wants? Yes, Mandy, I was hoping you were going to raise your hand.
Oh, and it's just so beautiful to hear everyone's feedback, and especially coming from Mitch and Jamie and SLPs. I mean, like, this is our whole team. This is the child's, right, their team. And I just love hearing all your feedback and insight and vulnerability and honesty. And I think for me, what drew me to this, and it's just been incredibly aided in my own personal journey, but just like, how can we change the world for these kids, multiple generations of us and parents. So people who stutter and our parents, we knew what we did the best we could with what we had, right? So I know that, no, there was no ill will as a parent. A parent wants to provide loving homes and safe spaces, but it's very much influenced by societal values and medical model. But so I came to this, so this is a moment we have a lot of momentum out there. I love this time where we are accepting of neurodiversity, of verbal diversity. And I felt this part of me is like, I want to get my story out there. I want to get my truth and just to, to help parents, to give them, let's talk about it. Let's give them the space to, allow just very, how do I want to say it? Just raw conversation of acknowledging it's okay to not be okay. Like, we know that it hurts to see your child struggle, like to be able to have a space to talk about it. But there are, there's things to help you out. And just because, like we said earlier, not all SLPs are informed like we all are here, and making sure that we had a resource, because sometimes I think where we are too is that, like how Jamie said, we as SLPs, we've left parents in the dark. And I think how empowering the gift to give to parents to be the ones with the knowledge first, as an expert of their child. In that sense, I'm their parent, their child is ultimately their own expert in their own stuttering experience, but to share, like to build a bridge, to have the relationship, to be able to provide that foundational, that safe space, connection, compassion. It's like, we want to build that with the parents and the child, right? We want to allow that ecosystem, I guess, to exist. And then it's just a powerful package for both the parent and the child to go out in the world, and I guess it just was like, I have to be a part of this. So I don't know if this is all making sense, but I just, more than anything, to be able to be that voice for little Mandy and her parents, to be an advocate that we didn't have back then, to be able to say it now, and to change, right? Be change maker in that sense, and bringing healing to this next generation, right? So I hope that makes sense, but quite an honor and a privilege, truly, to be a part of it. So thank you. It's been really emotional, and beautifully, though, in that sense, it's brought a lot of healing to me personally, and so excited what it's going to bring to our community. Yeah.
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, so from the background of just school in general, school SLP, I felt that when I was working, especially with my elementary, middle school, older population, that was a reoccurring theme that just kept coming when we'd get to the ARD meeting and parents weren't happy for X, Y, and Z. And then that was always, it just shed so much light when I changed gears to now being at the early childhood level, to hear being at the start of the journey for these parents to know from day one of getting told, yes, your child is showing signs of stuttering, and this is what we're going to do together. And it's not just my child starting speech, here you go. And that thought that it's just the work between the SLP and the child, but that it's a whole team of people that are going to be working together from day one. This project, and hearing some of the discussions today, I feel like that is something that's resonating, and hopefully will be a game changer moving forward. As I just think of it from the lens of school SLPs, of having something to start with in the very beginning of a resource that's hopefully easily accessible to so many families too, that it's free. Anyone could Google search, and hopefully that pops up. With just latest evidence-based research behind that. And then also it opens that discussion, I'm hoping, for parents to know, wherever they are already in that journey, when they watch that, they then know, well, maybe I do have some questions that I want to follow up with my SLP on, or just back to what Mitch was sharing earlier, because I've also had some of those same questions people have asked me from the SLP lens, but what are you going to do? And it's like, oh, that will come, between the SLP and the child. But first, just that foundation of sitting in that space of acceptance and talking about some of those feelings, and it's okay to, before those next steps unfold. But that's some of what has brought me so much joy already, just seeing the positive impact that you ladies are sharing, and men. So thank you for being vulnerable with us and sharing us all your insights.
So I had another question, and I was trying to think about how I was going to ask it. It actually turned into an answer, and I wanted to share. As a school SLP, we unfortunately don't have as much time to talk with the parents. Whether it is time not given to us, how it's all about the direct therapy, and on occasion there's the parent teacher conferences, which is now more so online, but in some areas, unfortunately, teachers don't, I'm sorry, parents don't necessarily take advantage of that. So originally the question was going to be something about how do we reach those parents with such little time? And then I'm like, that's what this video is about. Sending them a link to this video is a way to reach them and to let them know different ways to see their child's stuttering, different ways to think about their child's communication. And I see it as a door opening for them to for them to just have another view on their child's stutter. And if they have questions about the video, then they know where to reach me or where to reach us.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm gonna echo you there, man, because I'm a school-based SLP too, and just it's I found it as soon as we did this, I actually sent it to all my SLPs and I said, please share this with your families, all your students who stutter, and then I sent it out to my parents of the students I work with, and then I was even thinking, well, we could even share it with the teachers of our students who stuttered so that they're another resource, right? Because I feel like that's what this is about too, is the community, the child's community. Who else can be stakeholder in this? And I think our teachers can too. And maybe I know it takes time, relationship building, right, on our part as the school-based SLP, but in educating the teachers as well on the resources for the parents if the parents coming to them first in between us, maybe they might share something that's troubling to them and like, oh yeah, I remember, so as a speech therapist, or yeah, we do have this resource. So expanding it there too. But yeah, emails, I've actually made phone calls to parents more. I make it more intentional. I put it more on my planning period, or sometimes outside of my contract day. I don't want to advocate for that. But yeah, you're right, Mitch. It is more time sometimes when we don't have it. But I do see a huge value to it, and I love the ideas that we're starting. Yeah, it's as simple as an email, that link, share it.
One thing to now it's all SLPs in the room or any who are watching. One of the things that I learned at an avoidance reduction therapy for stuttering meeting, I think, or possibly another Q&A, was that parents could ask for a session on their IEP cycle to be parent consult. And that just had never occurred to me before. And I'm in private practice, but I since have recommended that. It was actually a family of an autistic child who did get that written into their child's new IEP. And it was like wonderful. And so then it's in the SLPs, the school SLPs scheduling block, that it, like, if that's something that the parents want and it's part of the service delivery model, then it's taken into account for schedule making. And so that has been a tool that I've been glad to be able to have to recommend to families too, that like you could designate some of your child's school time as parent consult in some school systems, maybe not everywhere.
Janet or Carrie, did you want to share anything else in regard to just impact for you, or what just drew you to this particular project?
Sure, I can say a couple things. Anna, Paula invited me to do the project, and I wasn't sure at first. And I think two things were motivating for me. One was I have a young adult daughter who was diagnosed with a disability recently, like in the last few years. And I look back at the way that I parented and maybe some of the messages I inadvertently sent. And, I wish that I could rewind some of those things. So I think a piece of it was being able to sort of send a message to other parents who are at a really loving place, but maybe the things that are the automatic things that they would migrate towards aren't necessarily the best things. I think the second piece is I teach a lot of future SLPs, and I think that pull towards fluency as an outcome is so strong. I mean, you can spend an entire semester on person-centered approaches, and then there will be a handful of people that the outcome that they think is desirable is fluency. So I think one of the pieces I love about this this video is, I mean, it's not necessarily, Mitchell, as you said, there may be options and speech techniques we teach down the road, but the desired outcome is communication, spontaneity, connection. Those are the things. And anything we do is in service of those. So I think that's just a beautiful framing.
Yeah, and for me, coming onto this project, Anna, Paula, and I had been putting our heads together about a list of resources for parents and saying like, oh, I wish there was a video about X, Y, and Z. And it was so like empowering for Anna Paula to just say, let's make one. And it was like, that's incredible. I'm so grateful to have this connection to Spiro and for Anna Paula's like connections and being such a force behind this project to make it happen. It was like just so rewarding and an honor to be part of this collaboration, to be able to say like, oh, we want this thing to be out in the world and we can just make it and then it will be there and then we can share it with families. And similar to what everyone else has said, even being in private practice, there are so many constraints on the time that we have to share information and the format, and the child is there and they're running around the waiting room and they're putting things in their mouth and whatever the situation may be. Or like parents aren't in the brain space to fully absorb every aspect of our conversation at any given time. So having something that people can return to and sort of hear new things from it at different times and have the printed resource that they can refer back to and put on the fridge or wherever is really exciting to have in our repertoire to facilitate that ongoing collaboration with families.
Yeah, and I'll just add for me, the first thing ties a little bit to what Florence talked about at the very beginning, which is I didn't want to just do this by myself. I was like, I don't want to just put something out, that is just my voice. And I thought, okay, who are the amazing SLPs that I know? Who are allies of Stuttering that I trust? Who are the people that I know could collaborate with me and to have this collective voice that is sharing information and two, to keep me balanced, right? And accountable to, am I putting out information that is good, right? For the Stuttering community? Because I feel, within the umbrella of what Sparrow Stuttering does, I feel this weight of responsibility, right? To make sure that what we put out is good information and helpful and, resources that I'm not going to be ashamed that are out there, 10 years from now. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is there's a research study, and I can't now quote the title of this article, but it relates to Palin PCI intervention strategies. And one of the segments in that research study shows that reduced parental anxiety is one of the first outcomes of the therapeutic process, when we're talking about working with young kids. And so that was really kind of my motivation of, okay, how do we reduce parental anxiety? We need some good information out there. We need them to feel supported. We need them to shed guilt and that the weight of all those things, which is why I love what Jamie said. And I know she had to go, about, like, you see us, and that just means the world to me, because that's exactly what we wanted, is for parents to feel seen and heard, and that we know that they are important in this process, because of course we need them to walk along, or we need to walk alongside them, right? And then something that Mitchell said earlier too, that comes from what Janet shared, which I loved, was when she talked about just moving in a different direction, right? There's always time to go a different direction, or there's always opportunity to do something different without shame or guilt. And we all are learning in this process. And so, and even as therapists, I've made mistakes and I learn and I keep going, right? And so that was just so important to me. Yeah. Any final questions or comments? All right. Well, we have had just a blast doing this. I've loved this process. It's been hard, but it's been wonderful. Just being able to collaborate with just amazing people that have passion for the stuttering community. And we've just been so fortunate and blessed by all the positive feedback that we've received from SLPs, from parents, from people who stutter. There is a free downloadable guide, a caregiver guide, which just mimics what's in the video, but it's very easily shareable. And so please do share freely as you are able, and just use the video as you desire to help as many families as possible. Thank you so much for your time today, and we just have loved being here together.
Thank you so much, Anna, Paula, for organizing.